for having us. We really appreciate you taking the time. Amy and I are very lucky. It's wonderful to get out into the communities and meet with people, hear questions, comments, concerns. As mentioned, I'm from the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. It's a state agency in the Governor Baker Polito administration. Jay Ash is our secretary, and the undersecretary for our office is John Chapman. Part of my job is to get out into the communities and give educational presentations, trying to get information out to consumers to let them know what's available. Most times free out of completely charge. We actually have a helpline that's run Monday through Friday. You can actually call us and you will actually get a human being who will answer the phone. Whether it's the first or second ring, you will actually get a human who will answer questions for you. We have 5 agencies underneath us: the Division of Banks, Insurance, Professional Licensure, Telecommunications and Cable, and Standards. If you ever have a question, if you want to check on a license of a professional person in the state of Massachusetts, you can call our office and we'll get you that information. If you have a question about the state lemon laws or the home improvement contractor programs that we run, please give us a call. We are happy to answer questions, comments, concerns. If it's something that is not necessarily right for our office to answer, we'll get you to the right office. For example, maybe it's something that the Division of Standards needs to handle, or maybe it's something we can call Amy's office at the Better Business Bureau or the Attorney General's office. We are a wealth of information. It's free. Our website has lots of information as well, so if you don't want to talk to us, that's totally fine. You can just go online. But a lot of people don't even know who our office even is out there. So it's really nice to get the information out. Everybody will have brochures, and for anybody who's listening at home, our hotline is 617-973-8787. Feel free to call us with anything during the week, Monday through Friday.
Hi there. Just to touch upon the Better Business Bureau and who we are and what we do, I think a lot of people are familiar with the name Better Business Bureau. You've heard of the BBB, namely because we've been around for 105 years. We were founded in 1912, and I think a lot of people are familiar with us also because you've utilized our free services after you've had a problem with a product or a service or a business. You ordered a washing machine and the company delivered a dryer, and you were trying to communicate with them to get them to pick up the dryer and then deliver the washing machine. So what happens is, as a consumer, you contact us, we serve as the middleman, and we reach out to the business and help facilitate the dialogue between the two parties. And we take phone calls and inquiries of that nature every single day. But what we really want consumers to know is that nowadays, with the wealth of information that is out there, contact us beforehand. Contact us ahead of time before you choose that roofer, that contractor, that plumber, or purchase that product from an online store, or choose your next chiropractor or something. Contact us. We have over 5 million businesses that you can research and review for free. You can visit our website, bbb.org. That's available at your fingertips 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like most websites. Or you can contact our office, and we recommend Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. But just contact us and say, look, I'm looking for a realtor, a roofer, a contractor, a yoga instructor, whatever it might be. And we're less likely to have an issue on the other end of things if we take a little bit of time to do a little bit of research beforehand. And all of our programs and services are free. And sometimes it's just about knowing that these resources are out there. Robin's agency, our nonprofit organization. And if you have information or questions rather on charity organizations, beyond the 5 million businesses that we have information on, and you can read customer reviews on or leave your own, we have information on charities and scams. Everything Robin and I are about to get into, times much, much, much more, because we probably need to camp out here for about a week and a half to cover everything. Contact us and ask us what we're updating. We always put out press releases and blog reports and things of that nature, but you can also visit the website and stay updated. And you can also report scams as well, and that's really important nowadays as we start jumping into these scams. The more and more that we can report things, report phone numbers or letters that we might receive in the mail and details, the more likely it is that we might be able to catch these identity thieves and these scammers that are out there. So don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll get into who else you can contact as the program continues. But before we continue, are there any questions on either of our organizations?
Yeah. What about out of state? A contractor like in New Hampshire, for instance.
Great question.
Would you handle something like that?
Sure.
Yeah, we actually both would.
You're both ways.
Yeah.
Yes, you
actually.
could, exactly. So we work in tandem a little bit in that nature. You want to make sure that a contractor's licensed and all of that. Our office in particular, our BBB office, happens to serve Eastern Massachusetts, all of Maine, all of Vermont, and all of Rhode Island. So if you had a question about a New Hampshire business, where they were located, wherever that business is located essentially, if they serve New Hampshire but they're located in Massachusetts, you'd probably still contact our office. But we could point you in the right direction of the contact information for the New Hampshire office, but always cross-reference with Robin's office as we do to make sure they're actually licensed.
If they're doing business in Massachusetts, they still have to have their home improvement contractor's registration. So whether or not a contractor is living in Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and working here, they still have to be registered through our office.
right.
So you can actually call us or go online and make sure that the registration is up to date.
Okay.
Are there other questions, even about scams, fraud, identity theft, or any hot topics that you want us to start with? Everybody's very quiet. Okay, well, we can start with the phone scams. Unfortunately, they're the most irritating. I know we already get a chuckle already. We all get them. It's not there's no one specific demographic that's being pinpointed or targeted. I get them constantly. I'm getting calls from a computerized voice coming from all over the country, at least 5 or 6 a day on my cell phone. The computer voice says, "I'm calling from the IRS, calling to let you know we are going to sue you." Well, I know the IRS is not going to sue me. I know I don't have any back taxes, and I just hang up and I do block the call. I have a smartphone, so I just simply block the call. It is frustrating. It's irritating. They're calling constantly. The more you can block your calls or don't answer the home lines, try not. If you don't recognize the phone number on your caller ID, just don't pick it up. And unfortunately, we all still do rely heavily on our caller ID. Unfortunately, on the flip side, there are contraptions that can be purchased on the internet that will scramble your phone numbers. So I could call you and it might look like the IRS is calling, or the local police department, or the Council on Aging. And so you say, great, it's the Georgetown Council on Aging, I should pick it up. And then the scam call starts, "Hi, this is Sarah, I'm calling from the Council on Aging. I was just going through some information and we needed to update your social security number for us." And that was a scam that was running around last year for Council on Aging, because people know that you can go online and you can find the director of the Council on Aging, what their name is, male or female, and then call and impersonate. They can figure out the demographic in the area and then call saying that they're impersonating the Council on Aging director. Important to know, I'm pretty sure the Council on Aging will never need your social security number, ever. It's not necessary. But it's really tough. The calls are constantly coming in. They're impersonating our banks. "Hi, this is Sarah. I'm calling from Bank of America." No, I'm just using them as an example. There's nothing wrong with Bank of America. I have to preface that, I'm sorry. But they do. They'll call and they'll give you a lot of information because they'll do some digging. And they'll say, "Hi, is this Sarah? Or is this Mary Jane? And you live at 151 Main Street in Georgetown, Massachusetts? And can you verify that the last 4 digits of your social security number are," and she'll read them off. "And can you still verify that your grandmother's maiden name is such and such?" All of that information is online and can be found with a little bit of digging. So they start very conversational. They give you all of this information and you feel comfortable. Oh, maybe it really is Sarah from Bank of America. Maybe there really is an issue with my bank account or my debit card or my credit card. If you get a call that you've not initiated from whatever, Bank of America, your lender, a credit card company, Sears, LL Bean, whomever the company they're saying they're calling from, hang up. Find the real legitimate phone number for that business entity. If it's your bank, pull out your debit card and call the 800 number in the back of the card. Your credit card, same thing. Your lender, find your paperwork and call that number. LL Bean, find the right number, the 800 number. A lot of times all they're doing is fishing around. They want to get your social security number, they want to get your account number, they are trying to get as much information from you as possible. So if you have not initiated that immediate call, you just got to hang up. And I know that all of our credit card companies are watching us. They know exactly where we shop, how much we usually spend, time of day, and they are watching us, and they will give you a call if something looks incredibly out of the ordinary for you, but you can't even verify 100% if it really is your Visa calling. So even if you do get a call from your Visa, just pull out your Visa and call the 800 number. It will keep you a lot safer. Unfortunately, the scam calls are constant. It is frustrating and irritating, and our office gets a lot of calls about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the scams that Robin are speaking of are really tricky because we've been answering the phone for decades and we've been receiving scam phone calls, but they worked in a little bit of a different fashion. We can still receive some of them, but it's not as likely that we're going to answer the phone and someone's going to say, you want a free vacation, or you want a free cruise, or you owe $20,000. They don't say these big outlandish things as much anymore. They certainly still can, but it doesn't happen as often because they know we're less likely to fall for it now. They know that we have these resources at our fingertips. We can just type into Google or Yahoo and see if it's a scam if they're making that phone call, and so they know that we're less likely to fall for something like that. So now they're calling and, like Robin said, impersonating legitimate companies and organizations and businesses that we may regularly associate ourselves with. And the best thing we can do is exactly what Robin said: hang up the phone, find the phone number, and call that number back. And it might sound a little unbelievable, but we do that 100% of the time. Unless I know that I'm speaking to, one of my parents or my husband or sibling or something, I hang up the phone every time, and I will hear who it is on the other end, and then I will just go and find that number and call them back, because then I know that I can proceed with whatever the issue might be or handle the situation, because I know for a fact that I'm speaking to somebody from that particular business or charity. Especially now with all of these hurricanes that have been going on, these scammers are going to start piggybacking off of that. They know that we're going to be receiving real phone calls from real charities, soliciting for donations and funds and things like that, or help, and they're going to piggyback off of that, and maybe they'll repeat the name of a legitimate charity, and maybe they'll make up a fake name, but they know that they're going to sell us the sob stories that we're seeing on TV and reading in the paper and hearing on the news, and they just know, I might be the 10th person today that's going to call them, but I'm going to really sell it to them. And unfortunately, we just can't be positive that they actually are from that legitimate charity. And even to take it just one step back, before we even have to answer the phone, one of the biggest things that we recommend is not answering at all if you can. If you have that caller ID, and as Norman was saying, you can't really necessarily trust what number is popping up on the caller ID, let your phone just ring and let your answering machine pick it up. It's probably one of the best things that we can do in regards to any of the scams that are circulating, and that's because it's twofold. One, if we let the phone ring and we let the answering machine pick it up, the scammers are very unlikely to leave us a message. They don't want to leave us a phone number to be able to call them back or report it to the the police or the FTC. So they're very unlikely to leave you a message. And if it's someone that needs you, they will, and you can call them back, if you choose to do so. But what happens when we answer the phone is we are alerting the person on the other end that it's an active working number. They know that they've reached a human, which is nice, and they make a little check mark next to that particular name and number that they've called that day, or even just the phone number if that's all that they've gotten through to, if they haven't been able to confirm our name or address or what they really want, which is the social and the credit card information. They take that information, and not only will they take it and then say, okay, well, I called these numbers today and they all answered, so maybe they'll answer again tomorrow, and then continue to call us day in and day out. They take that information and they sell it, and they'll sell it to more and more and more scam artists, and that's why we're inundated. And that's why, we know that it's difficult. It might be a little tough to fight the urge to answer the phone, or to let it ring. And if we can, just try to just let it get to your voicemail. We can't guarantee that the phone calls will stop, but we can control whether or not we're answering and whether or not we're giving information away. There's a lot that's within our control when it comes to these scams that we'll get into, and sometimes it feels out of our control and it feels like we can't manage, and we certainly can't manage how often our phone will ring for the most part, but we can manage whether or not we're giving information away and what we're giving away. And the scammers get away with so much of what they get away with because they don't think we're going to take the time to hang up the phone, find the right number, and call the appropriate business back. And that's truly all it takes. It is possible that no one in this room or watching at home will ever have to fall victim to a phone scam if all we're doing is hanging up the phone and calling back the appropriate phone number. And what's it going to take? Maybe 15 minutes tops to get to speak to a representative after pressing a few buttons to be put through. It's really, really, really worth it in the grand scheme of things. That extra 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, maybe every other day is really worth it.
Does somebody have questions? Anything we're starting to talk about?
A lot of times it'll appear on the television, telephone number too.
Yep.
So you can pretty well tell if somebody you know or it's just a scam.
Agreed. My phone for the last, mine have all been out of state, like really, really out of state, like Minnesota, Utah, Colorado. I don't really know anybody who lives in those states. So for me, when they start popping up, oh, Minnesota, I don't know who's in Minnesota, but they have been hammering my phone for weeks. And I keep just blocking them. A lot of the scammers are using robocalls. And when you pick up the phone, you will hear a delay, 5, 15, 20-second delay. A lot of times when I answer the phone, I don't say a word. Unless it says mom or my brother calling. I won't say a word. And I'll just sit there for 10 seconds. I'm like, okay, I know it's a robocall. It's a computer waiting for me to click off so that they can say, oh, it's a real person, we got one. If I don't hear a voice, then I hang up. It's really frustrating. There are different apps that you can purchase or get for free for Android as well as iPhones. I've been doing a little bit of research to see which ones have better reviews, which I highly suggest for anybody to do. You can use nomorobo.com for free for landlines if your landline is getting really hit with a lot of these robocalls. There's just little things, as Amy mentioned, don't pick up. Just simply don't pick up. Because the more times you stop picking up, the computer system is like, it's not worth it. Doesn't make sense for us to keep calling. Mm-hmm. Then no one's picking up. Who cares? We'll move on to the next person. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, people keep saying, well, how do they find our home numbers? And what's this? This is frustrating. I read an article a couple years ago. There were people who, from the Caribbean, I believe, who came over and were stealing our phone books. Now, we all kind of joke, who needs the phone book anymore? Not a lot of us. And it gets delivered. It stays at the end of our driveway all year. It becomes an ice mound in the winter, and we still never move it. But if you do still get a phone book, remove it and put it in your recycling bin, because people are stealing that. If they steal it, they've got your home address, your name, and your home phone number. Those 3 pieces of information is more than enough information to irritate you and to make awful calls. And they can start doing a little digging to find more information. There are different ancestral websites people can go on for free or $10 a month. Then now they have your home phone, home address, and full name. Let's see what we can find and dig up about Sarah Smith, who lives on 151 Main Street in Groveland, Massachusetts, or Georgetown, whatever town. Then they can find, how many kids does she have? Where do they live? Maybe they're on Facebook. Maybe we can get into their accounts. Or who's her grandmother? Who's her great-grandmother? Where did great-grandmother, grow up? What town in Northern Ireland? Maybe that northern town in Ireland might be her password for something. So with a little bit of digging, it doesn't take much to find more and more information about us, your children, your grandchildren, who's posting pictures. Even if you're not on the internet, even if you don't use social media, somebody you know probably is. So if they don't have strong passwords or haven't changed their password in forever, or their password is like their dog's name, they're going to get hacked and find you. And then to me it feels like a swirling hurricane. There's always information out there. So whomever you pinpoint, they're going to get more information. So the less you give out, the better you're going to be, unfortunately. Did you have a question?
Yeah. What about these calls you get that say if you got this message in error?
Dial 9 to be disconnected?
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's going to take you off of that list and put you on this list. It's the same thing with emails. If you'd like to unsubscribe, unless it's a reputable company, I'm going to say Macy's, LL Bean, Sears, a big business that you know is not a scam. Yes, it's okay to do unsubscribe. But if you randomly receive that phone call, hi, and it's like a long message, press 9 to be disconnected. We'll never call you again. They may never. Somebody else will. Because they know, ding, 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 there's someone's answering. That's fantastic. Let's call them again.
It's confirmation.
I got one like that, and I put in the number that they wanted, and they still called back.
Yeah.
And then I listened to the full message, and it said, dial a different number.
Sure.
And they still called back. I got so mad because they called me 5 and 6 times a day. I got so mad. I called them back and I started screaming at them on the phone. Don't call me back. I don't want to hear from you. Don't you get the and they will start calling.
So
I don't know who they
you bring up a good point. A lot of people think it's kind of fun and cheeky to yell and scream at the scammer if you get a real person, or keep them online for like 30 minutes and answer questions kooky and crazy and give them stupid things. Just be very wary. If they're calling your home phone, that means there's a website out there that you can go to and do a reverse search and find out where you live. Now, if you have frustrated and irritated a scammer and they're bizarrely enough somewhere in the, let's say New England, if you've irritated them enough, you never know what kind of a person you're dealing with. If they're upset and they have your home address, you don't want them coming after you. It's just not worth it. You don't know. Or if you've upset them and really got them going, they're going to sell your phone number to all of their scammy friends, and they're all going to hammer your phone for days. We did meet a senior, I don't remember which town on the North Shore, and she thought it'd be funny, and she answered kooky questions for like an hour, and what she didn't realize is she upset the scammer so much so that he called her all weekend, 24 hours a day. She's in her late 80s. That would panic me to have someone constantly 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, until Monday morning, where she got so nervous that she changed her home phone number. So I just think, don't egg people on. You never know who you're dealing with. Just simply hang up. Because if you irritate them, they're going to sell all of your information to all of their scammy friends, and everybody's going to call you. So you're better off to simply either not answer, or if you do answer, hang up. Simply hang up. Don't add flames to the fire. Yeah.
My husband had a stroke several years ago, and he gets these calls and he gets so upset. But there's companies that call, like, for a back brace. They know you have Medicare. They call and call.
Yeah.
I talked to him and I said, please don't call here. My husband's paralyzed. He has been. Please. They just keep calling.
Have you reported that? Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't know what company it is now.
Oh, okay.
I think what's important to note beyond anything is that most of the calls that are coming in are not from legitimate businesses or organizations. They're from scammers who are just impersonating representatives from legitimate businesses and organizations. And as much as we would like to be able to say, take us off of your list, or stop calling me, or this is harassment, or whatever it is, it's tough because they're trying to take our social security information. They're trying to get a hold of our credit card information. And, if they're trying to do things like that, then it's going to take a lot for them to stop calling and harassing us, unfortunately. If it's a phone number that's popping up on your caller ID screen, though, and it seems to be consistent, the number hasn't changed. What was
I
that?
don't call
Oh, you don't have caller ID. I would say, so then you probably can't let the phone ring if you don't have caller ID, and just you could still. Do you have an answering machine? I would say when your phone rings, let it go to your answering machine. And if it's someone that needs you or you'd like to speak to, call them back. Let that, and then you just hope that the more often that I think that's how you say it. The more often that you let the phone ring and let your answering machine pick it up, the less likely it is that the person will continue to call. And I know it's tough if you don't have caller ID, but honestly, as Robin was saying, the caller ID is so, it can be so easily manipulated that we could look and say, oh, well, I know who this person is, or I don't know who this person is, and it could be a scammer no matter what. The other tricky thing is that most of the phone calls are not coming locally, they aren't local. They're not even within the U.S., even though, as Robin was saying, it said Utah and Colorado on our caller ID. They're coming from Dubai and maybe even across the border, Toronto and Jamaica, and they're just coming from these boiler rooms, and there's hundreds of people in every room, just like this, and they're making phone calls day in and day out, and that's their livelihood. That's how they're making their living. And some of them are smart, and we use that term loosely, but there are smart scammers out there, and it's too bad that they're not using their talents for good instead of evil. But it's very, very, very difficult to track down on them. And so if we can just sort of control how we're answering and when we're answering and what information we're giving away, then we'll be able to save ourselves just even a little bit, other than the headache of having to hear your phone ring, because that's, of course, the most annoying thing. And Robert and I talk about this all the time. The phone scams are, without a doubt, the most annoying scams of all of them. Even more so, I believe, than the scams that come through the mail, or not the scams that come through the mail, but how often we receive junk mail and things like that. I think having to hear your phone ring and having to deal with that is a bit of a nightmare. And it does feel a little bit out of our control, and especially if you don't have a caller ID screen. And I know that on our cell phones they're built in, which is fantastic. But if we can, just try to manage as much information as possible that we're giving away. And Robin had mentioned something a little earlier about personal information and recycling bins and what we should be safeguarding. And we recommend every single program to invest in a shredder if you can, a cross shredder or a micro shredder, as I just purchased, that cuts it up into tiny, tiny, tiny little confetti pieces. Or participate in a shredding day. Locally, I know that they can have them. Sometimes the Council on Aging put them on. Sometimes local banks will put them on. There are some stores in the area that you can go to and bring your information, and they can shred it right there for you. They might charge you a little bit of money. I was at a store not long ago, and I had 16 pounds of paper, and they charged me like $4.25 to shred it, and it was worth it. But shredding as much information as possible. If you receive catalogs or credit card offers that come through the mail, insurance offers that come through the mail, anything that has your name and address on it, take it and shred it. It is one of the best things that we can do in regards to our identity protection. And if it's a catalog, you don't have to shred the whole catalog. We want to make that clear. Just take off the label with your name on it and take out the insert that has your name and address and probably your account number on that. Shred that, and then you can throw the rest in the recycling bin. But those pieces of information are, of course, really important. They seem very simple. What is someone going to do with my name and my address? But there's a lot that can be done because that's just the beginning of the puzzle for them. Those are the first few pieces of the puzzle. Because then with the beauty of the internet, as Robin was saying, even if we're not putting information out there online, someone else has. And these ancestry websites, as Robin was saying, there's a lot of information out there. And I guarantee that everyone in this room has their name, their address, their age, their phone number, where they grew up, and all of this, their mother's maiden name. All of this information is online somewhere, unfortunately, and we may not have put it there, but somehow it is, and it's all a few more pieces to that puzzle for that scammer. And that's why those phone calls are so devastating so often, because they'll use these pieces of information to make us feel comfortable, as opposed to saying something like, oh, you won $20,000 in a lottery, and if you pay $500, we'll give you whatever it is. It doesn't happen like that much anymore because they can find the personal pieces of information and say, hi Bob, we noticed that such and such, and it becomes very conversational. It's easier to get into a dialogue with the person on the other end.
It's also important, just to piggyback on that, your information is being sold rapidly, constantly. It's been being sold since the early 70s, probably even earlier. I use my dad as a perfect example. He got a subscription to a magazine in 1975, and he signed up specifically as a doctor, Dr. Putnam. Never was a doctor. He died 8 years ago. My mother still gets information, all kinds of crazy information through the mail for Dr. Putnam. And it's amazing from that one subscription. It's the only time in his life he's ever signed his name as a doctor. Hundreds of pieces of mail since 1975. We're talking 40 years of information constantly sold. Someone somewhere, everybody thinks we have a doctor in the family. We don't. But it's just it's wild to think that one subscription in 1975 is still going around, that his information is still being sold, and he died 9 years ago. And we're still getting information for him.
It puts things into perspective when you hear something like that. Whenever I hear, and I hear it often, but when I do, it always just reminds me of where I'm putting my information and why. And I'm very cautious about where I even just sign my name or my address or my email address or my phone number. And I'm very, very aware, and I often don't write it down unless I absolutely have to. The doctor's office or my credit card company, my mortgage provider. I try to keep my information in as tiny of a bubble as possible and think, do I really need this? Is this necessary? And where else could my information then be sold? It's tough.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, but my husband died 20 years ago, and I still get stuff every so often in the mail for him.
Yep.
And I've moved several times.
It's unbelievable.
They'll find
They
me.
track you down.
Yep,
And,
they do.
But my question was, I have one call on my phone that drives me crazy. They call all the time. They're persistent, even if I don't answer the call.
Mhm.
They're persistent.
Is it a specific company? Or
Um,
are they selling you something?
I'm not sure because I don't even answer it anymore.
Haven't blocked it.
Is there a number that pops up?
Yeah?
The best thing to do in that situation is report that phone number to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And I believe it's on
Yep.
Robin's handout, that
It's
phone
in your-
number.
It's from Kingston, Mass.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a look.
You can also just block that call.
Oh, that's very true. Right on
You
your
have a
phone.
smartphone, I have a smartphone, and I block
Block this
everything,
caller.
left and right.
Oh, okay.
Just block contact? Done.
Does this apply to other states also, or just?
It depends, and when you say other states, what, in regard to what?
Florida, or
Like,
just
if you're getting-
3-4 times a day.
If you're getting calls from Florida, do you mean, or?
No, I mean, if you live in Florida, does this apply?
The resources.
Oh, so the resources, sure. The only, if you have a serious issue and you need to call the Attorney General's office, I would call the Attorney General's office in Florida. It's a very easy Google search, or if you're not computer savvy, they can probably do it for you here. But the Federal Trade Commission, FTC.gov, super easy to get a hold of. FBI, Secret Service, the local police departments. Yes.
Well, how about the people like my children that go on the computer and do their bills for their bank? I mean, that's frightens me. to
It
think about
depends.
doing it.
So if you're gonna do bill
I
paying,
mean, I wouldn't, but
Sure.
just asking about them.
if you're gonna do
I'm
bill
blocked
paying,
now that
you
I'm
should do
blocked.
your bill paying at home
Sometimes.
and use your own private encrypted
They call.
website, Wi-Fi. Make sure it's encrypted, make sure you're the only one, or maybe your children have access to your Wi-Fi password to be doing your online billing. Don't be doing your online billing and using open Wi-Fi here, because you honestly don't know who's sitting in the other room who might be surfing the internet trying to figure out if you're using your the Wi-Fi to pay bills. It's the same thing when you go to coffee shops. The people say, oh, well, they gave me a password. It's the same password that they give out to everybody. So if you're sitting here, or the library, I don't want to knock these places, but it's not the safest place to go and pay your bills online. I don't have a problem. I do my online billing, but I do it at home. I never use my cell phone, ever.
On a safe, secure
Yeah.
Wi-Fi on a computer, not on your phone or something like
I
that.
don't touch a computer, but my daughter comes up here from Florida to visit, and I know she pays bills from, you know.
Is she using your Wi-Fi at home?
No, I don't have.
Okay.
Oh,
That's her own comfort level. I
Yeah.
just don't suggest anybody doing it unless you are very secure in, maybe she's using, there, you can purchase
She
encrypted.
uses one of the other, she uses one of the other people in our apartment building's Wi-Fi. That lets her, I guess.
Okay. Maybe if she feels comfortable using that person's Wi-Fi, and then she's the only one, the two people, are the only ones that
Yeah.
are using their Wi-Fi,
it's more about just being on a secure site,
encrypted.
you know,
yes.
and a secure, encrypted system, you know? It's, if there's two people that have that password, then, and she trusts the one other person, then that's one thing. If that person also shares it with the rest of the building, I would be a little nervous about that. And it's not that, you know, you don't trust that person, it's that who knows who else is in there, you know, that's attached to it. That's the biggest thing. I like to just keep things as small as possible, you know? And that's just, yeah, that's sort of how I've been handling things lately. And to be honest, I don't get that many phone calls. I really don't receive that much junk mail. I really don't. Every once in a while, I receive the phone calls, but I never answer. And it's very, very, very rare. Not as much as most people do. Not as much as my parents get. Of course, it's their home number, but I'm just very, very aware of where I'm putting that information. Sometimes I go to the store and I want to buy a half a gallon of milk or a tube of lipstick, and they say, what's your zip code, or what's your phone number, or what's your email address? And every time I look at them, I say, do I have to give that to you in order to purchase this? And they say no. And you know, the truth is it's probably for marketing purposes. They want to know what the shopping trends are in their community. But I don't know where else that information is going to go. And it's not that I don't trust the cashier. It's not that I don't trust the stores, the reputable stores. It's that I don't know where that information will be sold and how it will continue to. And that story about, you know, Robin's father, Dr. Putnam, and all that, it puts things into perspective. I actually had a couple who told me years ago at a program in Rhode Island that they put their name and address on a raffle at a restaurant. They were just at a restaurant one night and they put their name and address to win something. Who knows, a free dessert, a free car, whatever it was. They didn't win, but within 2 to 3 months they received 400 to 600 pieces of charity mail come through their mailbox. 400 to 600 pieces of charity mail for a free ice cream sundae. I just think not worth it. And when I heard that, I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense. There was no disclaimer that said we do not sell and distribute your personal information, and unfortunately, whoever signed up that day and put their name and address down, that information is going to continue to be sold, and it's much harder to stop it once it's been started. That's really the issue. So if I can just control and think, do I have to put my name on that? And if it's a raffle locally here and you're not putting down a lot of information, you know that they're not going to sell it, then you can feel a little bit more comforted. But it's those outside events.
A question.
Mhm.
Would you say the social security number is the most viable information they have on people?
Absolutely.
You would say that.
Your social security number is the most important piece of information for a reason.
The Medicare cards have a social security number.
It's changing next year. I just
Okay, you answered my question.
I just saw the first actual TV advertisement for the Medicare card. They are switching over. They've done a slow roll for the last year or so, but with like new people. So everybody who's at this point 75 or older now, they are going to start getting the new cards out next year. When you're waiting for those new cards, don't carry the full card with you. Don't do it. Make a photocopy. Black out half of the numbers and keep that with you. If you get into an accident, then you will still be admitted to a hospital. A loved one can then bring the full Medicare card with you, or you could probably, at this point, most of us can spout out our full Social Security number. But it's just really important not to carry that with you constantly, because what happens if your wallet gets taken, or it falls out, or you never know. That all of that information that's in your wallet, credit cards. Some people love to carry blank checks. Very dangerous. You've got your routing number, your account number, name, address. That's really dangerous. And if you have your Medicare card in it and not a photocopy of it, there's so much information right there to create a new you somewhere else in this world, and open up passports, open up an identity, open up credit cards, and get loans. It's just try not to carry that much information all the time.
And Robin brings up a great point too, carrying around checks. If we mail checks to pay some of our bills, as some of us still do, be aware that if you put that in your mailbox and you put that red flag up in order for the mailman to come pick it up, that's a literal red flag saying something's in my mailbox, come and take it. And if they do, and people do still, they dumpster dive, which is why shredding is so important that we mentioned earlier, and being really cautious of where we are placing our bills and things of that nature, because people still go through mailboxes and they take them out, and if they do, not only will they then have our check with our routing number, our name, and our address, they will also have whatever the bill was, and it would say it's a Visa bill that we're paying. It has our Visa account number and all of that information on there as well, and they can go and they can change the address for the billing address, and they can start opening up new accounts, and it's that easy and it's that simple. So just take the extra time. It's just about taking a little bit of extra time. Go directly to the post office or find one of those post office boxes that people cannot get into. But that's another, seemingly big thing that we can.
They can also
have
go
a small
online
part
and
in
order
fixing.
brand new checks in your name.
Yeah.
I know that my Sunday paper has a pull-out in the middle saying, hey, do you want to order some fun checks that has characters on it, or flowers, or whatever. All we need is your bank routing number and your account number. And now if they've stolen your check, boom, let's order 300 or 400 checks in your name, and you don't know what's happening. And all of a sudden, all of these checks start going through your account. You're going, what was this check for? What's $300 for here and $200 for this? And it can be very dangerous. So if you still are using checks, at least, as Amy said, put it in the actual physical mailbox, or a locked mailbox. Some people do have locked mailboxes. It's people love they're going to steal anything. If they can steal it, they will. Yes.
I went to Lowe's. I bought a refrigerator, so I took a credit card because I don't have credit cards. So it was $14 and whatever. But they gave me a card that is up to $12,000 credit, and I don't want that. So what could I do to make them bring it down?
You can call the credit card company, whatever the 800 number is on the back of the card, and just call and let them know that you don't want a credit limit of $12,000. Say, could you please limit this to whatever you're comfortable with? Absolutely. If you don't,
Yeah.
I get ads from my credit card company every couple of years. We'd like to boost it up to this, and every year it's like another $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. And I honestly just don't want that. So you can say yes or no. I don't want it.
Yeah, we have it's our prerogative to stand up for ourselves, and we can change things. We can change our password with our banks and credit card companies. We don't have to use our mother's maiden name as that verification question. We can change that. We can say we don't want a card that has the RFID symbol on it. That's what it's called, correct? It looks. We don't have to wear to draw it, but it's like a sideways rainbow.
It's like a sideways Wi-Fi symbol.
Wi-Fi, yes. And if you have that on your card, it's basically an antenna. It's exactly what it is. It's an antenna, and if anyone is in the area and has a little device, anyone could be sitting in this room, and if everyone had that little symbol on their credit card, then all that information could be taken and from the person that has that particular device. But that's something that we don't have to have on our card. They're putting it on a few people's cards. I think they're probably testing it out. But we can always say, you know what, I don't want a card that has that. It's a little too easy for a scammer and a hacker to get a hold of. But that's our prerogative. Our credit card limit. A lot of people put limits on their card, spending limits per day. They'll tell their credit card company, I want a $200 capper, and if anyone tries to go over $200, you call me. And that's another thing. Setting up notifications. You can receive text messages every single time your card is used, so that you know that if you're home and you get a text message that says, oh, you just made a purchase, at such and such a store for this amount of money, okay, I better call my credit card company or my bank because I did not do that. So there are little things that we can do, and contact your particular credit card company or your bank and ask them, what sort of securities can I set in place to best protect myself? Because nowadays it's very easy for our personal information to be taken from us, whether it's a credit card or a debit card, and it's something we talk about every program. If you can limit the amount of times that you use your debit card, we limit the amount of times that we use our debit card to 0 times. I can't remember the last time I used my debit card. I use my credit card for everything, and it's an extra step at the end of the month. My bill looks a little bit bigger, but we're that much safer, because if someone gets a hold of your debit card, and they can get a hold of your debit card just as easy as they can your credit card, either way, but if they use the debit card, the money's immediately extracted from your account. It doesn't mean you don't get it back. It's like 2 to 3 months to fill out the paperwork and get the process rolling. But if it's your credit card, you're not without that money while you're waiting to clear up the situation and tell them, I didn't make that purchase. I didn't make that $500 purchase or $1,000 purchase. If it's your debit card and somebody made a $500 purchase or a $1,000 purchase, the money's immediately taken out and you're without it until the process can get rolling in terms of getting it back for you.
Are there any final questions? We've kind of
Yeah.
gone. Yes.
I write checks to pay.
Mhm.
So would I be better if it's like, an insurance or something, or a car payment that's every single month, to have them take it out of my...
If you feel comfortable with that, I don't see a problem either way. The more important thing is, if you're going to write a check every single month, don't leave it in your mail slot. Don't leave it in an empty, unlocked mailbox, because you just never know who could pick it up. It is against the law for me or anybody to go into your mailbox unless you actually work for the post office. Doesn't matter, people still do it. Because if they see a Visa, MasterCard, there's your Sears bill, and there's another bill for this, and oh, there's your loan for your house and your loan for your car. If they see that once a month, they're going to go after that. So if you can either give it directly to the postal person every day, or put it in the mailbox, the blue one where you can't put your hands in, you will stay safer.
And I think even broader, it's really a personal preference. If you are someone who closely monitors your accounts, if you do online banking, but you're someone who at the end of every day or every other day can go online and look at your accounts and make sure that everything is lined up, then you can feel a little bit more safer, because you know that you're taking that control and monitoring more closely. But if you're someone who isn't comfortable doing things online and doesn't want to have that information online, then just like Robin said, you can still write the check. Just make sure you go to the post office to drop it off. And it's our prerogative to protect ourselves and figure out what we're comfortable with and what we're not, and what works best. And if you do run into an issue, don't hesitate to contact one of our organizations and ask us, this happened, what can I do? What's the first step I can do? And we'll point you in the right direction. We'll never say, we don't know, and hang up on you, that's for sure. And I had mentioned earlier, 9 to 3, Monday through Friday, you can contact our office, and I believe, Robin, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Any other questions?
What's the most popular scams now?
Right now, the IRS, unfortunately.
Yes.
they're constantly making the call. It's either the IRS, you owe back taxes, the IRS, they're suing you, the National Guard's coming after you.
A club is coming to get you.
Yeah, I had the call on my work phone. Okay, I work for the state, and it says Robin Putnam, state of Massachusetts, but they left a voicemail saying that the National Guard was coming after me and suing me because I owed over $30,000 in back taxes. I don't make enough money to owe that much money in back taxes, and I have an accountant who has done my taxes the last 15, 20 years, so I know I'm fine with my taxes. And I know that the IRS is never going to hire the local police department, the FBI, the CIA, the National Guard to come after me. They're not. That's not their job. They're just going to send me a registered letter in the mail and let me know what's going on. So unfortunately, it's just a call that keeps happening. They are hitting lower income and immigrant groups as well. And instead of saying, you know, the IRS, the National Guard is coming after you, they're saying, we're going to kick you out of the country. So people who are not from here, English is not their first language, you know, maybe they don't have all their paperwork quite in order, they get nervous because they think, well, I can't lose my citizenship, or I can't lose, you know, I don't want to get me deported, what's going on? And maybe I should pay that, you know, $200 on my visa. Maybe I should just do it. Well, they don't realize that that's not how the IRS works. They're not going to call and threaten you. A lot of times they'll call and swear at you. I got one which was horrendous, swearing up the wazoo. But that's not what they're going to do. A government agency is not going to threaten you, swear at you, tell you that someone's coming after you. If you really do owe money, you're just going to get a certified letter in the mail. They're not going to threaten you. But unfortunately, some people just don't know that. So the more we keep talking about it and letting people know, these things aren't going to happen. You're going to get a letter in the mail saying, this is what you owe, this is what's going on, this is the issue. It is frustrating and it's tough, but unfortunately people still fall for it.
Any final questions? Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you so
allowing
much
us
for
to be
having
here
me.
today.
Thank you.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
You welcome.
Well, it was great.